everybody, Sal here. A very warm welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be talking about delicious, wonderful caramel fragrances. But before we get started today, if you are new here, then welcome. If you love everything to do with fragrances, please consider subscribing to my channel. I make new videos every single week. And if you are a returning subscriber of mine and you keep coming back and leaving your lovely comments, then thank you so much for your support. I really do appreciate it. So on the whole, I would say that I do enjoy caramel fragrances. They are beautiful, and like, I am a gourmand lover myself, so it is something that I do really enjoy. So I have about 6 or 7 fragrances today that I'm going to show you. These all have caramel in them. Some fragrances that I'm going to show you have more like prominent caramel notes than others, and some of them have just like a kind of more subtle hint of caramel, but I've got a good wide range here that I'm going to show you. So first up today is the beautiful Juliette Has. This fragrance is really nice. I've mentioned it quite a few times on my channel now. It's really unusual, and that's something that really drew me to this. It does have that unusual, slightly addictive quality to it. I think partly because of that powdery, almost sandpaper-like soft texture that the smell has, which I think maybe comes from the combination of kind of sweet raspberry, the caramel, and sandalwood as well. So perhaps the woodiness contrasting with like the sweet caramel, maybe that's what gives it that slightly powdery, like sandpaper texture that I always mention. But this is kind of overall a sweet, gourmand, caramel, woody fragrance with kind of fruity nuances to it as well. I would say the caramel in here does play a very prominent part. The atomizer on this is beautiful. It's just probably my favourite atomizer actually of any of them. Oh, so this is just so interesting, you guys. Like, you can definitely get the caramel. Like, if you're a caramel lover and you don't mind some fruitiness, like raspberry notes basically, then I would definitely give this a try. It's so nice because it's sweet without being juvenile. It's sweet in quite a mature way. It's sweet, but it's still what I would consider to be quite sophisticated, like quite grown up. And I would say the sandalwood in here is really quite prominent. There's definitely a lot of woodiness in here, almost in equal measure to the caramel, and maybe that's what stops it from becoming overly juvenile, just because the woodiness in here is really prominent. Oh, it's just so nice. The longevity of this one is brilliant. The packaging is lovely. So this is the packaging here. I don't know why, but there's something about this that oh, sorry, there's the door. So yeah, I'm not sure what it is about this, but something about this bottle and even the smell, kind of, it reminds me of like Alice in Wonderland. It gives me like a surreal, kind of almost enchanted feeling about it. If you look closely, the details here, it's almost like vines with mystical looking flowers. It's kind of hard to see, but like various different things branching off of these twigs. And even the font and the colour, everything about this bottle and the beautiful embossed logo on the lid there, everything about this reminds me of like something surreal, almost like maybe Tim Burton, Alice in Wonderland, enchanted fairy tales, all of those things that I'm slightly obsessed with, to be honest. I feel like it's all come together in the concept of this fragrance, for me anyway. But yeah, I just love this one. So actually, if you're on the lookout for a caramel fragrance that's not too overbearingly sweet, I would give this one a try because it is sweet. It's what I would consider a gourmand fragrance, but it's done in a very good way. Like, oh, that's such a bad way of explaining it. It's like they've done it in a very unique way, and a lot of craftsmanship has gone into this fragrance, so it's a good quality smell. It smells kind of woody, unusual, refined, sweet, but not in an obviously overtly sweet way, but it is still a very sweet fragrance. Like, it is a really beautiful scent, this one here, and it does definitely have that prominent caramel note in it. So that is Juliette Has. Next up today is one which I absolutely adore, and it's a very popular fragrance actually. So it is Prada Candy, the original Eau de Parfum. So I got this 30 ml bottle here, and I'd seen over the years, I'd seen the 50ml and larger like tester bottles in the shops, and whenever I used them I always like pressed this down and it would spray out. So when I received this I was really like quite worried that my bottle was broken or something, because this doesn't spray like that. Actually the whole thing comes off like that. And I can't remember how I figured this out, but it took me ages to figure that out with this bottle. I've seen a few people in videos talking about this with the 30ml who've experienced the same thing as me. So when I heard that, I was kind of like, I didn't feel as bad. I thought it was just me that like had no idea how to open this one. But anyway, so that's how it comes off. This whole top bit comes off like this. But the scent itself is stunning, you guys. It's like very prominently caramel, but in a kind of an evening kind of way almost. So let me just spray some to refresh my memory. I've not worn this one in a very long time actually. So this is a very rich caramel. It smells expensive to me. There's a lot of benzoin in here as well. There's not a huge amount of notes in this fragrance either, based on what it said on Fragrantica anyway. I think it said that there's benzoin, there's caramel of course, there's powdery notes, and I think that was it really. Maybe something else, but this one is kind of, it has that cosmetic powdery kind of feeling to it, but in a caramel kind of way. It's warming, it's almost slightly balsamic, maybe just a tiny bit balsamic. The benzoin is very prominent. It's a very kind of subtle fragrance, like it has a presence and it lasts okay on me, but it has a subtle presence. It's not as loud as the Juliette Has fragrance. It's like a very subdued, like subtle fragrance almost. But it's really stunning, you guys. It's like so comforting. It's almost, if you can imagine, a really expensive, rich caramel in a boozy way. Well, slightly boozy kind of way, basically. This one is really nice, and it's got that nice, oops, a daisy. Don't know what happened there. It's very nice, addictive. I do find this one to be quite addictive actually. It's really nice. Just all round a really beautiful powdery caramel fragrance. So that is Prada Candy. Next up is a really fun one. So this is Viktor and Rolf Bonbon. The packaging is really cute. I purchased this partly just because I really wanted this bottle. It's so pretty. I'm also quite intrigued by the couture version. Can't remember what it's called. I think it's just called Bonbon Couture, and it's basically the same packaging, but it's like metallic, shimmery looking. And on one of my previous videos I asked you guys like, would you recommend it for me, and a few of you guys said yes. And you also mentioned that it was like a more mature, like more complex, like more interesting version of the original one. So I'm really intrigued by the couture version now. But this one here is really nice. It's kind of caramel, very obviously caramel, but very fruity. So it's fruity in a peachy kind of way. So it's kind of fun, girly. Yeah, the peach, basically, actually when I smell out of the bottle, it's mostly peach that I get, with sweetness from the caramel. But I would say probably when you're wearing it, it develops a little bit when you're actually wearing it and the caramel comes out more. And then there's some interesting wood notes in the base that come out a little bit towards the end and stop it from being like cheap smelling. Like this doesn't smell cheap. It does smell quite youthful because it is very sweet. It's not as refined as the Juliette Has one. So this one to me is like very balanced between the caramel and the woods. This one is just very caramel, very fruity, with woods in the base. It's a very well-made fragrance, it's a beautiful fragrance, but this one smells more mature, grown up, sophisticated. This one doesn't really smell sophisticated, I wouldn't say. It's kind of, it reminds me of like a youthful kind of vibe, bubbly, girly, carefree, all of those kind of things this reminds me of, and it's just really nice. The longevity is pretty good. It lasts a fair amount of time on me. I find the atomizer on this one a little bit clunky and it sprays out too much fragrance, which kind of annoys me. The actual bit is huge. It's a little bit clumsy, and this cap, like it kind of annoys me a bit. Like I much prefer the atomizer on this one, but oh well. But overall, this is a really nice fruity caramel fragrance. So if you're looking for something that's very obviously caramel, something quite young at heart, I would say, but not like cheap smelling. And if you enjoy peach fragrances, then I would say you're gonna love this. And it's really nice. I really like having this one in my collection. So that is Viktor and Rolf Bonbon. Next up is one that I would say is like a dark, seductive evening version of a caramel fragrance, and that is the beautiful La Nuit Trésor. So this one has caramel and like loads of beautiful gourmand notes going on in here, actually kind of complementing the caramel. So it has coffee, it has like licorice, vanilla, lots and lots of fruits as well. This is so fruity. There's probably over 6 different fruits in here, like strawberry, papaya, pear. There's like literally so many fruits. I can never remember them all, but there's a lot. This one is so nice, you guys. It's like a boozy, fruity liqueur, like a cocktail, but in a smoky, dark evening kind of way. It's really, really nice. The caramel in here, is it that prominent? Perhaps the caramel is actually what gives it that almost syrupy nature. So this is quite a thick, like sweet, syrupy, dark fragrance, and perhaps that syrupy kind of nature to it comes from the caramel and maybe the vanilla, like the sweet notes in here. And perhaps all the fruits as well. But it does have like a rich, dark, smoky, incensey deepness to it as well, which just makes it brilliant for like the nighttime, if you're all dressed up going out. I really, really like this one. So it's a really nice caramelly kind of fragrance, but there's a lot more like going on as well other than the caramel. And it's just really, really nice. Yeah, I just really like this one. It's like a classic kind of, and I adore it. So that is the original La Nuit Trésor. Now, the next two that I'm going to be talking about are sort of if you are interested in caramel, you know, in fragrance, but you don't want something heavy and you don't want something sickly. So these have caramel, and you can definitely detect the caramel, but they're brighter, they're lighter, like in weight, they're more translucent, they're more what I would consider to be like daytime, easygoing kind of fragrances, and they're not really that sickly at all, to be honest. So the first one is Fancy by Jessica Simpson. So this one is like a really nice celebrity scent. It's kind of bright, sparkly, almost slightly, actually I won't say fresh, it's not really fresh, but it's bright and sparkly, and it's got quite a lot going on again, like lots of different florals, some fruits and caramel. Now, somebody left a comment on one of my videos that was really interesting. They said that this has been like reformulated and the previous formulations had like a more noticeable caramel note in it and it was heavier, because I noticed that I'd heard people say that, and then when I tried it I kind of thought it's not that heavy. Like to me it's very light and airy, that kind of thing, but I think that is maybe because it's been reformulated. And I maybe have like one of the newer batches that doesn't have as heavy a caramel notes. Maybe that's why. But to me, this one is kind of like, it almost smells like carefree happiness, really. It's a really nice daytime fragrance. Yeah, it's almost a little bit like citrusy, caramelly, floral. Sweet, but it's not too sweet in my opinion. Again, when I'd heard things about this, I thought it was going to be like an absolute sugar bomb, but it's not, to me anyway. This is all just my opinion. But this one, it's almost a little bit like citrusy when I've just sprayed it there. This one has really good performance. Every time I've worn it, it's lasted more or less all day. It's just really, really nice, and I do like this one. And it's not too strong on the caramel. So on the days when I'm not really in a caramel like mood, then I still sometimes reach for this one, just because it's not like, it's not syrupy and it's not sickly, basically. So that is the wonderful Jessica Simpson Fancy. And last up today is a really nice fragrance, and it is the Mon Guerlain Eau de Toilette. This one is probably the least sweet, and this isn't really a gourmand at all. So this is like, if we put them in a scale of sweetness, I would say probably your Bonbon is right at the top, being like the sweetest one. And this one is at the other end of the spectrum, like not overly sweet. It's not like sickly sweet. It's not a gourmand at all, but it does have a really pleasant caramel note in here, balancing out with all the other notes in this fragrance. So this has like very citrusy opening, but not in like a sharp way. It's done in a very nice way, and I'm quite fussy about that because I'm not the biggest fan of citrus, but in this fragrance it's done in like a really nice way. Yeah, so oh, it's so nice. Citrusy opening, but you can right away detect like the Mon Guerlain signature, and there is a bright, almost sunshiny sweetness and brightness about this. So it has violet in here, it has jasmine, it has like lots of white florals in here, and the rose is not in this one. So the rose and like the heavier floral notes that are in the original Mon Guerlain are not in the Eau de Toilette. So this one is overall like airier, more translucent, not as thick, not as dense, and this one like isn't really powdery to me, maybe a tiny bit, but it's not really like powdery like the original Mon Guerlain. And that almost like solar brightness that this has with those white florals, I feel like it's just enhanced by the caramel notes. It's just blended seamlessly in amongst all those other notes, and it's not really like, if I didn't know that there was caramel in here, I wouldn't smell it and think, oh, there's caramel. Like the other ones I've mentioned are like much more noticeably caramel. This one isn't as much. But I would say that the caramel note in here really does enhance this fragrance, and it just blends really nicely with all the other notes. So if you're somebody actually that knows that you don't like caramel, you might even still like this, to be honest, because it's not like super obviously caramel. It's a very light, easygoing everyday scent that still has really nice lasting power. It's just more toned down, it's quieter. This is really nice for like a professional setting, or if you just aren't feeling well and you don't want anything overpowering. This is such a nice option. I really, really like this fragrance. And it does overall stay quite bright. Like it does have this bright kind of smell that lasts the whole duration that it's on your skin, whereas the original Mon Guerlain, it dries down to more of like a what do you call it? Like it's not bright and citrusy like this one, basically. It's like more woody, perhaps more aromatic. This one is more citrus and like brighter, basically. So that's the beautiful Mon Guerlain Eau de Toilette, a really nice option for somebody who isn't overly keen on caramel notes, because it's quite subtle in this fragrance. So there we have it, you guys. I still don't know how many fragrances I mentioned in here. 2, 4, 6 caramel fragrances from my collection. I love them all. Let me know if you've tried any of them, if you also enjoy like a caramel note. If you liked this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys very soon. Take care. Bye.